So let me talk about our experience so far, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so from my own perspective, it's been just it's been a cool ride because I've been putting in effort, showing up every day because that's actually what matters. And coming from a background where I don't even have any experience in the tech world gives me gives me enough motivation to push through. So I will just say it's been worth it. It's been worth it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's actually a program that would stretch you. So it would want you, it would like require you or compel you, like it will compel you to want to like stretch your wing and also like push you out of your comfort. So you need to go extra mile. Yeah, so I can also relate to that. So thank you so much for sharing that. So I think to save us time, so I think what Ibrahim and Victor has shared, in a nutshell, like every one of us can resonate with it. So it's actually not an easy thing to do being in this program. So it requires you to like be always on your toe. Like you learn every day, you push your boundaries, you sacrifice a lot just to see yourself like ace the program and know what you are doing, like to excel, like to triumph in the program. So you can all relate to that. So I've loved all of us to share experiences, but because of time, so because we have so much to cover, we were supposed to have this session last week, but due to some unforeseen circumstances, we are unable to hold it. So, and I would want to take it from the very fundamentals before we now progress to like, we are still seemingly in the basic aspects of like the program, right? So, but it's still like equally important to have like the foundation, the basis before we start like progressing into the likes of control flows and others, right? So basically, so I will share with you our theme of discourse for today so that we can all go through it. Can we all confirm if you can see my screen? So you
Yes,
can
I can
just
see your screen.
awesome. So in essence, today we will be covering these concepts, right? So we'll be starting from the very basic. So what Python is, and before I begin, I would like to mention that um, in the course of this session, so if there is a need to call my attention, so if you feel lost or if you feel you missed anything that I have mentioned or that I am currently explaining, please do not hesitate to call for my attention. Even if I'm explaining a concept, if you have a question, just trigger me. Please nudge me at the moment so that we can just clear that and move to the next. So because um, it's actually a model that it's a building block, right? It's a building block. So once the foundation is not rigid, to affect everything we are trying to build on top. So we need to understand the basis, right? So it's equally important. So now, as I have said, so you're just doing like a Python 101. So you'll be starting with what exactly is Python, right? This Python, what is it? So after that, we would check Python as an interpreter. Then we progress to data types. We check what variables are. So we also check what comment is in Python. We check the if statements. So we check our operators. So basically we have three operators. We have the arithmetic, logical, and comparison. So we'll also check the inputs. I think someone is talking. Do you have a question? Okay. So basically, as I was saying, we have three operators. So we have the arithmetic, logical, and comparison. And we'll be like checking all of these boxes. So we'd also check the inputs and console outputs. So which we all know as the print statement. Then we would from there progress into conditional statements, right? We would also like check what functions are, right? So we'll also discuss functions. So to begin with, right? So let's start with Python. Python. Python at upon like hearing that word, the first thing that comes to our mind is like somewhat a snake. You would all agree with me. Two of us. Let us react. If you agree with me, let us like react. Let me see some reactions. Or you can just like state it in the chat. Two of us. Like you would want to agree with me that the first thing that comes to your mind is what? Is a snake, right? So basically, Python, it's a programming language, right? So it was named after a British comedy show. So there's actually a British comedy show that this was named after. So that was where the pioneer or the founder of Python in person of Guido van Rossum. Guido van Rossum. So his name is Guido van Rossum. So he coined the name Python from that show, right? It's a comedy show. So this is why most times if you come about most Python documentation, so you see some comic names used in like in most expressions or in most variables names, like saying something like X or spam and the likes, right? So it mimic this show to an extent. So and this program was being like written or it was being embarked on from the 1800s, but it was first introduced in 1991. So in 1991, it was introduced, and beginning from the 20th century, so it began to like gain its feet. So it's becoming popular in the 20s, right? So now it is arguably now to say that Python is like one of the I don't even think any other programming language comes close. So it's like the most popular programming language as of today. Yeah. This is due to so many reasons. So one of them is because Python is believed to be like a high-level language. So this introduction, I'm going to be introducing some key concepts of Python, so which I'm doing already. So when we say high-level language of programming language, what do we mean? So in essence, we have varieties, right? So we have low-level programming, we have high-level language. Now, what differentiates high-level from low-level? So essentially, high-level are programs that are very close to human language. Again, high-level programming language are languages that are very close to human language. So how do I mean? Essentially, so if you have like an experience with some other languages like the C sharp, or Java, you would know to an extent that Python is a high-level language. Because with Python now, you can just say, like with some codes you have written, with some programs you have written. So you would also be like you might want to do some comparison. You'll be saying if this is not greater than this. So which is just like communicating English to a person. So unlike some other languages whereby you need to, they also like have some usage in human languages, but it is not as close to human as Python is close to human. So this is what makes Python a what? A high level programming language. So when you are asked or when you come about high level, that is what it simply means because it's close to what human understand. It's like just writing plain text. in what English language. So that is what high-level programming languages mean. So now that essentially about like intro to Python. So now we'll be moving to the next concept on this list, which is what Python as an interpreter. I believe most of us would be aware or would have met these concepts one time or the other, right? So here I would like to demonstrate something very quickly. So I want to share another screen. 1 second, please. So I want to share another screen. So let me just share my screen. So I'll be sharing my entire screen. Okay. So yeah, I want to I will need like a whiteboard here to demonstrate this. Okay, let me use this. One second. Okay, so yeah, when we say Python is an interpreter, how do we mean or what do we mean? So I mentioned before now that the only thing our computer understand, it is what we called machine language. Machine language. That is the only thing the computer, like the operating system, the CPU, that is the language it understand. So, and these machine languages are represented in what? In ones and zeros. So, which are popularly known as what? The binaries. You would all agree with me. So this is the only thing computer understand. All these things, this is what computer understand, right? So this is computer or machine language. Now, essentially, there is a course on this, on how to do some conversions from basic operations to this binary, right? But you all would believe would agree with me that it would like be an Herculean task for us to be learning this, for us to like be committing this to our mind, to our brain, before we can tell computer what to do as programmers, before we can instruct computer to like, okay, fine, I want to build a software, so I'm giving you instruction, execute this for me. Now, how would you feel? How would it be if this is what we are learning? So now that we know that this is what computer understands, so then this interpreter now comes to play to solve this problem or this challenge we are having, right? So now, let's say for instance now, so interpreter is just basically like a translator, right? Like a translator between human language and computer language. Again, it's basically like a translator between human language and computer language. So what do I mean? Let's, for instance, now we are learning a language. So I'm speaking English. So Victor, for instance, only understand French. Victor does not speak English. So it's very difficult for myself and Victor to communicate. We need an intermediary, like a translator that would translate what I'm saying in English to Victor in French, and also vice versa, right? So this is the same thing interpreter is doing between us and the computer operating system. That is why it is called interpreter. So this is how the flow is. So let's assume this is our what? Let's assume this is our source code. So our source code is just basically the code we are writing. So let's say source code. So can we see my screen? Please let's react, or let's drop something in the chat so that I can be sure you can all see my screen. We can react or do something in the chat, please. Awesome, 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 awesome. So now, so this is our source code. So what do I mean by source code? So let's assume we've written a Python program. So we could say that, okay, this our program is, let's just write anything as for, oh, sorry, for something in something. So something in something. So let's believe these are what? Code snippets. These are code snippets, right? So now essentially we've written our code. Then this is our what? Our interpreter. This is our interpreter. So as I've said before, the only thing interpreter understands is 1 and 0. It does not like send all these things we are writing, right? So now for us to now communicate, for us to give instructions, so we now have like an intermediary between them. So we have like an intermediary between them. So in person of interpreter. So this is what would now what perform the interpretation of what we have written into what this guy understands. Into what machine language. So these are machine language. Machine language. Right? So this is the only thing it understands. So now we don't want to communicate. We want to tell, okay, fine, print hello world for me on the screen. So we've written print hello world. So this guy here in the middle, right, is now responsible for taking our source code to this guy, the interpreter here. So let's highlight this guy as interpreter. So this concept is very important for every Pythonista. Like every Pythonista, is very important to understand this basic concept, because even in interviews or in basic Python professional courses, so it's like it's often asked, like understanding what interpreter is for Python as a programming language. So now this guy now takes this code and now interprets to what this guy understands. Then after the interpretation, the machine language, which is our computer OS, or the CPU, or the brain of the computer, now takes and digests. Okay, fine. So what do you want me to do? So now it's understand. Okay, fine. This is what you want, right? Okay, fine. Thank you. So you understand and digest, then outputs our results for us on the screen. Then we see. So that is the flow. However, so why is it now named interpreter? It's named interpreter because it translates. The translation is being done line by line, unlike its counterpart, which is a compiler. So we also have compiler for programs like C. There's a programming language called C. If you learn C, you would know that Python is heaven, because C it's very like close to like wanting to learn how the computer like communicates. So now for programs like C, programming language like C uses what we call compiler. So what compiler does is, compiler is also like it also translates source code to what a computer understands, right? But it does all the compilation at once. Just do the compilation, blah, 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 and give it to the operating system to execute, right? But for interpreter gives the operating system the line of code one after the other. This is why when you are running your Python code, if you write in your body of code, in your code snippets, you would all have experienced this in one time or the other, whereby, let's say you have 5 lines of code, right? So let's assume you have 5 lines of code. This is the first line, second line, third line, fourth line, and fifth line. If it was a compiler, when you want to execute this code, so that is the process called like running. So the process called running. So while the operating system is running the code, so it would first compile everything, then gives to the system to execute. So if there's any error, any error would come after execution. That is compilation. However, for interpreter would be giving it line by line. So give you this first line. Okay, for blah in blah, if blah is blah. It now checks here, syntax error. There's a syntax error here, right? What would it do? That is why you see your program will just break. It will break. It will not continue. It will break at this point. This is where it will break. Then like gives you a pointer to what you are missing. It could be a syntax error. It could be using conflicting characters, or forgetting to close your quotes and the likes, right? So that is what interpreter basically mean. So it interprets line by line for computer to execute. So that is why you have experienced that if you are writing your code, once there is any error, it just throw an error and asks you to correct it before it would proceed. So that is basically what Python interpreter mean, in case you come across it, right? So that is that. So please let me know if there is any question on that before we move to the next theme. If you are all good, please I would like also to please react or drop a message in the chat so that I can know that we all appreciate this and move on to the next concept. Okay, so no questions. So exactly. So now we'll be moving on to the next one. So which is next one we have here is what? Data types. Data types. So when we say data types, what do we mean by data types? So data types essentially is just like they are like value, right? So let's come to our terminal now. So okay, let's come to Bash. So on this bash, so we are going to enter into Python mode. So I believe we all are we are all proficient in all of this, right? So this is why we won't be going into details with installation and the likes, right? So now when we say data types, so we can say it's, right? Just say it's. We can say hello. This is just hello. We can say 8.34. This is just 8.34. Now, how do we differentiate between all these values? These are data, right? So how do we differentiate with between them? So this is where data types comes into play. So now essentially in Python, so we have types of data types. So we have the string. So we have the string, right? We have one moment. So I'm trying to find, okay. So let me use this. So for data types, so this is just like a refresher. Data types, I won't be delving much in this. So you have string. So string are just like anything like literal, like text literals, anything text literals. So like names and other characters. So that is string. We have what we call integer. So int for short. So int are what? Whole numbers. Whole numbers. So whole numbers like this. So these are integers. So this is not a decimal point. So it's not a decimal. I'm just trying to demarcate them. Right? So these are integers. So we have what we also called floats. So floats are also numbers, but with decimals. Floats are also what? Numbers, but with what? Decimals. So anytime we see stuff like this, so we say that they are what? They are floats. Then we also have what we call the Boolean, right? The Boolean. So what are Booleans? Booleans are what? They are just of two types. They are true or what? Or false. So now let's begin with this Boolean is mostly uncommon. It's not really common as such. So let's just like start from it. So now let's say, for instance, if I say 10 100 equal to okay, 100 greater than 80. So can we see what happened when I typed 100 greater than 80? It says what? True, because 100 truly is what? Greater than 80. So if I said 980, no, now in reverse, 80 greater than 100. So what do we have there? It is false, right? So this is what Boolean does for us in our codes. So we can say, so how do we, there is now a hack for checking or confirming a type of every data, right? So we can say X is sorry, some of my keyword as issue. So let me use this. Okay, so you can say x is equal to what? X is equal to 6. So I have said before that 6 is a what? Is an integer. So now we are not sure. We are unsure. So you now say type x. So what do we have on the screen? It says it's what? It's a class of what? Integer. It's a class of what? Integer. Let's do the same thing for a string. So this is how you confirm some data types, right? So we say y is equal to ALX. So, and one convention about string is, it's also equally important to mention, one convention about string is your strings must be in quotes, either single quotes or double quotes. So if you miss this, there will be an issue with you and the interpreter, right? It would throw error, right? So now let's now confirm type of y. So can we see it here? We have a string. So now let's do the same thing for floats. We are doing the same thing for floats. So we can say z is equal to anything dot anything. So now we want to confirm our what? Our type of z. So it tells us that it's a what? It's a float. So basically, these are what? Data types. So we won't be delving itato on that so that we can move forward very quickly. So now the next is variables, right? Variables. Now I am just doing these intros, right? Because basically we would write one interesting thing in this session is we are going to write a program. So, and in this program, so you would be like simulating a real world software application development, right? So now in this app development, we are going to ensure we cover all of these topics, while writing that program. So that is not enough. So there is also something called the process of software development or stages of software development, right? So we are also going to adopt this concept while writing the program. So we will be checking that in a minute. So the next one, which is what? Variables. So what are variables, right? So variable, most people confuse Python variables for other programming languages. Some people would want to describe variable. So they'll be giving an analogy like a variable is like a box or a variable is like this. So variable is just like to simply put, right? Variable is just like an identifier. So what do I mean by an identifier? It's just basically like giving a tag to a value. So we know what a value is. So for instance, if you go back to the terminal, yeah. So for instance, this X now, the 6 is what? Is a value. What we are doing is we are now using the X as a tag for that 6, whereby later in our program, if we need 6, we don't need to be scouting around. Where is 6? Or writing 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. We might need 6 in multiple places for different reasons, right? But once we tag a variable with a value, every time you want to invoke that value, you just call that variable. That's essentially what variable does. So now variable has conventions. Variable is just like a paint. Okay, fine, 6. So I can remember that this is 6. I paint 6 yellow. I can recall that this is ALX. I'm painting ALX blue. This is essentially the primary function of what? Of variables. Now for variables now has what? Conventions. The conventions are what? One of them is it should be a letter, should start with a letter, should have like an underscore, and it can also what? Include a number, right? It can include a number, it can have like an underscore, and it can also be what? A letter, right? So essentially,
Sorry, please excuse. I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, can we like if you want to like write a variable like the name. For instance, I want to write, let's say, okay, let me use feature greetings for example. Like, can we put the feature greetings together, making the second word, the second word, the capital letter, like the G, a capital
Do you
letter.
mean this?
Yes,
You mean something
yes,
like this?
yes.
Yeah, this is very accepted.
Okay,
It's an accepted convention in naming your variables.
okay.
However, what should be what we should bear in mind here is that these feature greetings, as we have written here, as cited by Clement, is different from me now saying, sorry, one moment. Is different from me now saying, now, who can tell me the difference between the first one and this one? Can anyone like spot the difference between the first feature greetings and this feature greetings I just put or write on the terminal?
Oh,
Who can
okay.
spot the
Can I
difference?
can I talk?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, the first one is like showing that there are like two words, like there's like separate words. While the second one is showing that like it's a single word.
Yeah, that is close to what I want to
Let me
pinpoint,
say,
but there is a point I want to, like, I need.
yeah, the difference is, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure, I can hear you. Okay,
All right, so first feature greetings, there's a capital letter G, that feature
okay,
greeting, and the second one has small letter G. Then another difference is there is A in the first one, the feature greetings, and while the second one has double E. So which means
thank you.
different things entirely.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So that A is an oversight. But the point I want to stress is starting the first example of feature greeting variable with small letter and
Yeah,
having G as capital letter is like grossly different from the other feature greetings, which has F as a capital and has G as capital.
Yes.
So this is most like issues, like most like programmers like encounter. So like forgetting the the actual letters used in naming variables, or unknowing to them that this is like what like a convention, or like something they should what follow or obey. So some people will just name their variable with the first one, and when they want to call it, they will call the second one. So now be throwing error. What am I doing wrong? My code it's supposed to be running, blah, 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 blah. So this is one of the what common mistakes that most beginners like make while like using variables. So I really appreciate the fact that you cited that, Clement. So that is also important to mention, right? So other than this, we can name our variable with anything we want. However, it is wrong to name a variable with something like, let's say, let's still use the same feature. So let's say you now put a space, now say greetings. So let me assign it a value and see what happens. So let's say we give it an integer. Then you see what happens. Invalid what? Syntax. Why? Because by convention, by protocol, it does not accept spaces between variable names. So that is another thing. So another thing also very important to mention when we are like naming our variable is to use like a descriptive name. It's very important to use descriptive names. So some people who want to name variable, just be hearing XYZ1 is equal to is equal to is equal to blah blah blah. So they will say enter, they'll come again. X arrow P or U is equal to. So even if you as a software developer or a software engineer understand this, what happens to other individual that wants to read your code? it will be very difficult to understand, because even many a time, to write like a readable program starts from what? Naming our variable. From variable, I can tell that what this program is doing is to what? To build like a basic calculator. I can tell from variable names, right? So this is very important. So we need to take note of that very quickly. So that is that on variables. So before we move on to the next one, so please let me know if you have any question. Okay, in absence of any, if there is none, you'll be moving to the next one, so which is comments. Okay, someone wants to talk. Who is that? Yeah, go on, please.
So nobody asked about joining two words together, right? I saw you joined two words together. And what if they're putting this in a condition where they have to put space in between the two words? I think you should have added the point where they use that
Underscore, right?
underscore. Because,
Thank you so much.
Sorry, please, I did not get the question.
So what's it's just like what he's saying is in a case whereby it is necessary to differentiate between two words. So what do we do? So we all know we can use what underscore, right? So for instance, in the case of the feature greeting, so you can do something like this: feature underscore, sorry. So feature underscore greeting, right? So I believe this is your point, right, Victor?
Yes.
Okay. So did you catch that, Clement? So this is what he just pointed out.
Yes.
All right. So thank you so much for that highlights, Victor. So now the next one is checking comments. So comments is just basically a part of our program that is not always executed while the program is running. So basically what it does is to just like tell what parts of a program is doing. It's very important in writing like a big project, like a production project. It's very important because many times you won't be the only engineer working on that project. So it could be a contribution project. It could be a project whereby it could be like a collective project, right? So it is very important. Even if it is not in that dimension, even for a code, for someone to like refer to a code or a project you've written in the past. So if it is well commented, it will be very easy to understand what you've written 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So, and this comment also have what convention. So very quickly, I'm going to just basically highlight this very quickly. So I won't be delving much in that. So one moment. So let's say I want to do something. Practice, nope. BLD. So don't mind me. My keyboard tab key has refused to work, so it's stressing my life. So we can say VI. So let's just call this one something, .txt. So now this is where we would appreciate comments, right? So let's say we now want to write something. But okay, fine. Let's just believe we are writing a program that Can anyone give any suggestion? Like just anything that comes to your head, just give any suggestion. You can drop in the chat. So what program are we writing? Anything. You can unmute and say it very quickly.
Advanced calculator.
Okay, so this is a basic calculator program. So the first thing we would all appreciate saying this when reviewing someone's program is what? The person does not even need to tell you this is what I'm doing. You first understand, right? Okay, this is a basic calculator program, right? Nice, nice, nice. Now, so what does this pound key, as some people would call it, hash key, as it is to other people, right? Or the Naira key, as in other cases. What does it do? What does it do? Essentially, it would what? Make the interpreter to skip those lines of your code. Every time it sees anything like that, just keep. So now we now have two variants. So we have for single line and we have for multi-line. So in case of multi-line, let's say I want to now describe what this Python, maybe I have more information about it that I want to share. So we now use these quotes, use 3 quotes for multi-line. Let me just go and copy something. So maybe we have a multi-line comment you want to do. So let's say, so one moment, please. So let's say this is what explains more description about, what is this one giving? I don't see what I'm looking for. So let's just use any text. So let's use any text. So let's assume this is what this is a description on of my program. So I'll come back here and say, can you see that is multi-line? It has exceeded a single line. So we now add another 3 quotes at the end. So this is also called what? Commenting. So every time the interpreter encounters this, it's what? It just keep that part. It does not even like think of processing it, talk less of what? Executing it. It skips it. That is what commenting does. So we're going to see this practically in a moment. So now the next one is so basically we're coming to the next one, which is what? If statement, right? So we are going to see this live. So now basically having understanding of these basics now. So this would now take us to our simulation in writing a practical, simple, that looks a real life Python program, right? So now in this program, we are going to ensure that we use all these things we've discussed practically so that we can have like a full glimpse of how they are being used in program. So now this is what I now called the process or stages of creating a program. I say process or stages of creating a program. So how do I mean? So essentially we have 6 universal process for creating a program. So the first on the list is what? Analyze the problem. Followed by what? Determine specification, then create a design, implement the design, test or debug, then maintain the program. We are going to see all of this come to play in a second, right? So now let's start with our program. So now let's say we would come to our environment now. So we'll be using, we will still be using our almighty VI. So in this, so we'd create, so this program we want to write is essentially, let's say we have a problem. So this is the problem we are trying to solve. So the problem is, let me give an overview of what the problem is. So let me look for, okay, so now let's assume Grace, right? Grace, upon completing this program, now secured an international job offer to the United States. So, which means by default, and it is not a remote offer, Grace has to what? Travel to United States. When Grace got to the US, we all know the weather of US is different to what we can resonate with here in Nigeria, right? The first problem or issue Grace had or has or will have is what? Understanding what temperature is, and also knowing how to be ready for the day, depending on our understanding of the temperature. Now, there is something called temperature or weather reports, right? So, which is what? Which is typical to different countries. How do I mean? For example, if they want to report a temperature in countries like US, they use what is popularly known as Fahrenheit, right? So this is what they use popularly. So they use this. So you'll be hearing something Fahrenheit degrees, right? So this is common in the United States. Here in Nigeria, what we understand is what? Celsius. So you can say what? Celsius degree, Celsius degree, Celsius degree, right? So this is what Grace is familiar with. But when Grace now got to the United States, she was seeing reports like, the temperature today is 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Which one is 120 degree Fahrenheit? If it had been reported as, okay, the temperature today is what? Let's say 28 degree Celsius, right? This is the language Grace understand. But getting to US, it's a different case. This is a problem for Grace. Now, Grace now thought of it as a software engineer, right? As a senior developer. Okay, fine. I have the technical know-how. So how do I resolve this problem? This is a problem, and this is why we build softwares. As developers, as engineers, we are to solve what? Basic problem facing what? The world at large. Right? So this is what we want to do. Now, why should this be what? Be a challenge for me. So let me resolve this. Now, Grace now resolved to resolving this problem. So I want to ask someone, right? So now we know what our problem is, right? So these are problem statements. I think I have it somewhere. So okay, fine. So these are problem statements, right? So these are problem statements. You are in Nigeria visiting, let's say US, where weather reports are given in Fahrenheit. So you are used to Celsius. So 32 degree Fahrenheit means nothing to you at glance. As a programmer, you decide to solve this problem, writing a program to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius. I want someone to please, now going by the process or stages of creating a program, I want someone to tell me how to analyze this problem. So how do you analyze this problem? Because we said the first thing as a programmer is to what? To understand the problem, understand what you are trying to do. Because as one as one philosopher said, I think that should be icing on someone. He said, if I have 60 minutes to solve a problem, I will spend 50 minutes understanding the problem, then the 5 minutes, the other 10 minutes towards resolving the problem. Yeah, which is true. Basically, you cannot resolve what you don't understand, right? You cannot resolve or find a solution to what you don't understand. So the first thing you need to do as a programmer or as a developer is what to first understand what you are trying to do. So this is the challenge or the problem most developer like beginners face. So when you just see like a problem statement, they freak out. Oh, this is too much for me to do, which is not. So the first thing is what understand. Okay, fine. What does this thing want? What is the what? What is the expectation? What do I need to comprehend? What do I take from it? I want someone to tell us now from this. So what is the problem? What is the problem facing Grace? Can someone please tell us?
Please come and give me the question. Sorry.
Okay, the question is, we have a problem statement. Grace or anyone is visiting US, right? So in Nigeria, so you know weather reports. So like if you understand how these weathers are reported, so anything from 0 degrees Celsius means the weather is very cold, like it's cold to freezing. So we say 0 degrees Celsius, it means it's very cold. Even in a freezing state. So now, as a Nigerian, you would understand that if you see anything between 0 and 11, you know it's extremely cold. So we could relate that to Harmattan period in Nigeria, right? So where weather is close to that range, right? So now, anything from 12, 13 to let's say 17, maybe it's cool. It's also cold though, but cool or mild, right? So you are having this understanding because you know what Celsius is. Now let's now say you now travel to another country. Upon getting to that country, they don't report their own weather in Celsius. They report their own weather in Fahrenheit for countries such as US. So now in US, now if we say 212 degree Fahrenheit in US, it means 100 degrees Celsius in country that use Celsius. Now, this is a problem or a challenge for you when you first got to the US. Now, as a programmer, you think of, I have the technical know-how, so I am a developer, so I should be able to solve this problem. So I want to write a program that can basically do the conversion for me. I don't need to look up. I don't need to go and ask. I don't need to go to anywhere to say what is 1 million degree Fahrenheit in Celsius. No, you just want to build a software application whereby when you input Fahrenheit, it converts it to Celsius for you. So this is a problem, right? So I want someone to tell us like what is the understanding of it? What is the problem facing us? What is the thing we are trying to resolve here? So if we truly want to observe these stages of software development, so we must first appreciate problem analysis. You must first appreciate problem analysis. That is the first thing before we do anything. So now what is the problem we have now? So is that clear, Ogushakin?
Yes.
Awesome.
So that means we'll be converting we are used to degree section, so we'll be converting the degree that is available in Fahrenheit how do I put it?
Basically,
We are in Nigeria using degree sections, while I traveled out, they are using degree Fahrenheit. So which means we'll be converting the Fahrenheit to Celsius for me to understand how cold or how hot the weather is.
Yeah, thank you so much. So we understand what the problem is, right? So now after understanding the problem, we now move to the next stage of creating the next stage of software lifecycle, which is determine specifications. What does this specification determination means? It means what? So you want to describe what your problem will do. Okay, fine. You now understand what you want to solve. You also want to do some sketching of, okay, fine. And what will you do? Okay, what do I want to accomplish? So you know that, okay, fine. What would be the input? You brainstorm. What would be the input? What would be the output? Right? So in this case, I want to ask us all, so what will be our input? Our input should be what? Can anyone answer it? So we want to determine our specifications now. So in this case now, what should our input be? So we are trying to brainstorm on determining our specification of our program.
Okay, please, can you go back to that?
The problem statement, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so now these are our figures. We have 2 and 2 degree Fahrenheit.
No, forget about these figures for now.
All these figures, okay.
Forget about the figures for now. Like we want to determine the specifications, like knowing the features. By specification, I mean like features. So what are the things this program would do? Is it a program that would take inputs from end user? When it takes this input, what would happen next? What would happen after that? Do you understand? So what can it do? What are the capabilities? What do I want? How do I want this program to behave in essence? So now in a case of we understanding the problem now, so can we like have some specifications? So what would those specifications be?
Okay, so if we have inputs, we
Okay.
have representing maybe a particular figure representing Celsius and a particular one representing Fahrenheit. So there will be a particular figure representing that I think that's how I understand that.
Yeah, you are 100%. You are 100%, and thank you so much for mentioning that. So I need those two keywords, right? Like the input and what the output. So we now understand that what we are writing should give us what? An input in form of what? Fahrenheit. What happens to these inputs when we collect it? We process it. After processing it, we do what? We now add output. So this is our what? Program specification. So now let's now delve in and start No, we are not even writing our program now. So the next stage is what? To create a design. So creating this design is what? Formulating the overall structure of the program. And this is where pseudocoding comes in place. So it's also very important concepts of programming that is what? It can never be like what? Overstate. Can't be overstated. We want to create a design. So we are going to start our program with what? With creating a design. So in this stage, you don't need to worry if your program would work or not, right? You don't need to be concerned about syntax. Just write it in language that you understand. So you would appreciate it later when you want to translate or implement this pseudocode you've written. So now let's say, for instance, we now have, since we are doing a temperature converter, we are building a temperature converter software, right? So we can say tempconv dot py. So vi. So for those of us that are not familiar with this VI that I'm using, it's just a text editor, right? So it's still the same thing as saying you want to create a file. So it's similar to Tosh. So like using Tosh to create a file. But what this one does is it creates the file and also at the same time open a text editor. So that text editor now allows you to write all your code inside that file. So it creates and open a text editor. So that's what that VI is. So once I press enter, it opens the text editor. Can you see the text editor now? So now we now want to, so we'll be implementing the concept we've learned now. So we are going to start with comments. So we are starting with commenting now. So I've said everything would come in tandem. So we are putting everything in play now. So we've started with commenting. So we want to, what is that stage that we are again? So you want to create a what? You want to create a design. So now in this creating a design, so it's simply the same as was pseudocoding. So here we can say inputs. So it will you can just have something similar to like writing a real program, but you shouldn't be concerned about your syntax being correct or otherwise, right? So, and you would appreciate the importance and benefit of this a lot by the time you want to implement our program. So inputs, inputs, let's say Fahrenheit, input Fahrenheit. Okay, no, let's say input the temperature to be converted, and you can say and what? Call it Fahrenheit, right? So that is the first one. So we are pseudocoding. we input the temperature to be converted and call it Fahrenheit. So this is the first thing I want to do when I open my application after building it. So now what is the next thing? So after inputting it, what should happen? Okay, I want this to process the input value and what convert to Celsius. Do we see that? So after that, I want it to process the inputs and convert to what? Celsius. Then the next one is what? After that, I want it to what? To display the okay, go on, please.
Figure.
To the converted figure
In Celsius.
in thank you so much. So now we have this in place, right? Input the temperature to be converted and call it Fahrenheit. To process the input value and convert to Celsius, then to display the converted figure in Celsius, right? We still have one problem. What is the problem? Can anyone identify the problem for me? The problem is what? We've not now been able to identify how we are going to convert this value from Fahrenheit to what? To Celsius. That is why as a developer, you would always be on your toes. So most people also fret. Yeah, they believe, how do I do this? I don't know maths. I'm not a mathematician. How do they? You don't need it. So all you need to do is just a research. A what? A research. Yeah, a simple search. Like just do some research. Okay, fine. What is the formula for converting Fahrenheit to Celsius? You get? So there will be a formula for it. So you just do your research, you get the formula, you are good to go. So now we are going to do that in a minute. So now that should be under this. So let's say we now have a sub here. So sorry, should also still be commented. So what we need here is the formula for converting Fahrenheit to what? To Celsius. So you can just Google that, right? Let's check the internet for that. For converting.
473. No.
He said, okay, if anyone has it, you can please paste in the chat if you have it already.
No, I'm saying it often.
Okay. So we are, can you see now? We are doing something like this. Can you see the screen? Can you see the screen? So we are doing something just like this. So now let me enter anything. Can you see what we have? So it's been converted from what? From Fahrenheit to degrees Celsius. But what are we doing? We are now what? We are building the program. So how was this? What is the rationale behind this program? This is what we are doing. So now I have this. So because of time, so let me look it up. I think I have it somewhere. One moment. I have it somewhere. Yeah. So okay, so we copy this formula. So you have our formula. Then we go back to our console and you can paste the formula there. Can we see? So what do we have here? So we have into brackets Fahrenheit minus 32x, which is times multiplied by 5 divided by 9. Right? So once we have this formula, we are what? We are good to go. So now having all this, now we have our pseudo code. We have like what? We've created a design. Now I want to implement this design. Right? This is where and when we should now be concerned about how our program should work. Essentially, everything we've done in the past would make everything so hassle-free and easy to do, to implement. It would just be as if we've done it before, but not doing it using syntax, and now you want to use syntax. So it will be very easy for us to do. So what do we do? So essentially, we've already said here in line 1 that we want to take an input that we want to convert. So, and we want to call it var_init. So calling it var_init is what? Variable. So we've explained variable earlier. So this is where everything we've done earlier would now be making sense, right? So it is variable. So, and our convention rather agrees with this naming. So which is what? var_init, right? So we've given it a variable name. So this is where we want to keep that value we will be taking from end user, right? So this is what we call assignment operator in Python. So what it does is everything it takes from the value, it assigns it to what? It takes from the right and assigns to the what? To the left. So here, input should give us a nudge that we should what? Take something from the end user, right? Now, don't forget here, because typecasting. So I would need to mention typecasting very quickly, right? So it's also very important concept to appreciate in programming, right? So typecasting basically is what? Taking a data type and what? Trying to manipulate it to mean another data type. For example, you have integer, but here I need it as string. What do? You typecast, right? So how do we typecast? If a data type is in its original state, you just start it with that data type you want to change it what? To. That is what we used to do here. So when we say int, then input, why do we do this? Let me explain. Input by default accept strings, right? But in this program development, we are dealing with what? Numbers. So essentially, we now want to say that when you collect this number, we know you are going to store it as string, but cast it for us into what? Integer. That is what typecasting. That is what we are doing here. So an input is a what? Is a built-in function, just like print. So have you ever imagined that you just type, after writing your code, just type print. After typing print, it just displays something on the screen. All these things are what? They are built-in functions. They are programmed that had been written to perform one thing or the other. So now we now say input. So input is again a built-in function to build like an interactive program. You take information from end user and you store it in a predefined variable. So we can say input, right? Then enter. What should we use here? Someone should lend me English here. Enter the temperature in what? Let's say, right? So we can say enter the temperature in what? Fahrenheit, right? So we do this.
Excuse me.
Okay.
So, most of it, there are sometimes Fahrenheit comes in decimal points. So I think it will be better if we just float.
I can't hear you clearly.
Okay, I said there are sometimes Fahrenheit comes in decimal places. So I think it's better we use float to be on
We
the
use
safe.
what? Eval,
Float.
right?
Yes, float.
We use floats. Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Oh, exactly. Sometimes it comes in what? It comes in yeah. So, but there is actually one concept in Python that gives leverage for floats over integer in cases like this. So, and it is mostly experienced or encountered while performing division operation, right? So it's mostly experienced while performing division operation. So because what I mean is, for example, if you do 5 divided by 2.0, who can guess what the output will be? 5 divided by 2.0. Can anyone guess what the output will be? The output would be
0.5.
thank you. The output would be in what? In floats. Do you Yes, the output will be in floats. Why? Because there is a preference for floats over integer. Because we all know that integer is what is it's somehow like static. 2 is always 2, 3 is always 3. But if it is reverse, if reverse was the case, we can't say that 5.3 divided by a whole number, which is 3, should now give us integer. No, it can't give us integer. Reason being that our results would not be what? Complete. What happens to those points? Blah, 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 blah. We have after the decimal points. That is why, even if we put integer there, by the time we complete our calculation and the arithmetic, it still returns it in what? In floats. So now we've now written our first line. Don't forget to
Sorry
what?
to,
Okay.
so I want to understand. So which
Okay.
means floats, okay, so if we put it in floats, if we input floats instead of integer, so that means regardless of how it comes, maybe in whole number or in decimal points, floats will still carry everything. Like float is like it's like
Yes.
it will overtake the integer.
Yes.
Unlike integer.
Yes.
And maybe so integer cannot will not accept decimal numbers.
It will accept it, right? In division, that was what I just illustrated now. In divisions, it will accept it. That's why I said if you do 5.3 divided by 2, what would be the result?
5.2 divided by 5. What is 5
Like
divided
just like any number divided
comes in
by,
decimal places?
it will come in decimal place. Thank you. So
Yeah.
most times float is given like a precedence over integer because 2 and 2.1, they are not the same. Do you all agree with me?
Yes.
That 0.1 means something. So that is why it's like a common place in programming as it is in mathematics.
Sorry. What I want
Okay.
to understand now is if let's assume we have it in integer first. Okay, we have the integer part, we have the float part. So we
Okay.
divided 5.5 divided by 2. It will give us 2.5.
Okay.
Float. I want to understand how it come out in float and integer. Or is it that we can use anyone? We can use either of the two. Or is it that it is always preferable to use float?
Yeah, you can actually use both, but it's recommended to always use floats.
Okay.
Yeah, it's recommended to use floats. So, and there's another one too that's like it's resolve this controversy. So which is evaluation, EVAL, right? So eval is not a discriminator. So anyone you put, it accepts. But eval has limitation, or I would say it has a security loophole, which like threat actors or attackers can use to it's called code injection. You can use to inject your code and introduce bug into your code, because it accepts anything. They can even like impute a program that can introduce bug into your program. That's why it's not always advised to use eval for like a production program. So, but if you are just writing basic practice program, example program, like I just use eval. Eval is very like good. But if you are writing a real world, real life program that you'll be hosting, like you would be hosting to the public, so it's not recommended to be using eval, right? So yeah. So that is that. So now the next one is, we've now written our words, our first line. So the next one is what? To process the input value and convert to what? Celsius. So we all know what this means. So we just name another variable Celsius. So we give it our what? Assignment operator. Then we say what? So we just introduce our formula, right? Isn't it? So we introduce our formula and paste, right? So what this formula is doing is, anything you collect, can you see we are what? Reintroducing Fahrenheit. Anything you collect from this and store in this variable. Now, the minus it, subtract 32 from it, multiply by 5 and divided by 9. So that is the what formula for converting Fahrenheit to what? To Celsius. So that is that. So now the last one, which is our what? Is to what? To display the converted figure in Celsius. So we just use our popular and common print statements. So you can use f string because you'll be needing some tweak on how you want this to be displayed. So we can say the temperature is what? So what do we do here? So we introduce our, we call our Celsius, because everything we take from this arithmetic, right? So we are going to store it inside this Celsius variable. So we now want to invoke this Celsius variable now by what? Putting it here. So you can say Celsius, right? The temperature is Celsius. So which means this one would be displayed in number in Celsius degree, yeah, degrees what? Celsius. If you have any question here, please ask. Is there any question here? Let me check. Do I have anything in the chat?
Okay, so I just
someone has left a message. Okay. What I was asking earlier. Okay, yeah, Grace. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. She doesn't know how to convert. Nice. Okay, so okay, yeah, go on, please.
I just want to be sure.
Okay.
So with our variable for Fahrenheit is floats, like that figure. What figure are we using to represent that entered temperature in Fahrenheit? Okay, that means the temperature, the figure of that temperature, sorry, the figure of that temperature in Fahrenheit, right? Let's assume
Yes.
we have the temperature is in 32 degree, or okay, let's say it's 32 degree Fahrenheit. So
Okay.
that's what it would be. Is that what it would be in that enter the temperature in Fahrenheit?
Exactly. Remember the scope of our program. We have the temperature in Fahrenheit, but we now want to appreciate or understand it in Celsius. So yeah, by using this input function, you would now enter, by the time we are interacting with the program, once we enter, let's say now, for example, now in US now, it is now 200 Fahrenheit, right? So that is what we are going to enter. You just enter 200, just enter any number, 200, right? So when we enter that number, 200, this formula would do the conversion, right? So after doing the conversion would now convert it to its what? To its counterpart in what? In Celsius. So now after doing the conversion, it now gives the variable Celsius the value of the converted figure it's what? It's collected from the end user. So now the next thing is now to now display it to us in text that will be
Sorry to-
visual. Okay.
So this part you said Celsius equals to bracket Fahrenheit minus 32. Like, so it is the formula, the conversion will take place under Celsius, right?
Okay. Let me explain the lines again. So this is where understanding of variables and assignment and value is very key. So this is variable. Yeah. This Celsius is just a variable. You know, in the introduction part, I was explaining variable. I was comparing it to just like it's just like an identifier, or we can also say it's just like a storage, right? So, or we can also simply put it as what? A tag. You get, so let's say for instance now, this Celsius now, we now say Celsius. It's just like, okay, let me do something so that you can appreciate it now. One moment. One moment. So py. So let's use Python. Can you all see my screen? So I now have git bash now. So variable is just, let's say, Celsius. This is what variable is, right? No, let me use something that is common. So let's say we have num1. So we now say this num1. What is wrong with this one? We have num1. We now say num1 is equal to 10. What we are doing is we are keeping this 10. We are tagging 10 with num1, so that every time we need num1, every time we need 10, once we just say num1, it's just like bring out 10 for me again. You get, that is what variable assignment value is. This is num1, it's a variable. Let me do something that would make us appreciate it very well. So let's say, for instance, don't save, get out. So let's say, for instance, we have this, right? So we call this one what? We call it our variable. So this is called variable. Now this variable now, in programming, we have data. Data are our numbers, texts, floats, integers, Boolean, etc., etc. Those are our datas, right? Now, when we are working or writing a program, we are working with large data sets, right? Large data sets could be building a software that check eligibility to vote, to qualify for a loan, to qualify for admission, to qualify for scholarship. So all these programs requires information. They require data. So now how do we keep this data, whereby anytime we need them, once we just call on something, just take back your value. So these are variables. So now in this case now, let's say I have 20. I want to use 20 now. Where is this thing again? I want to use 20, right? So I'll just say, okay, I want to keep this 20 here. So it's the same thing as saying number. Don't mind my handwriting. This is not my handwriting reward though. So this same thing as saying num is equal to 20. Do we get? It's the same thing as saying what? Num is equal to 20. Now in this case, num is this square. 20 is what is inside. We are assigning 20 to num. You're going to understand it now. So now we now say this is num1. Maybe we want to build a program that we used to do addition. So we now come again. We define another variable again. We say num. We now call this one num2 and said it's equal to 10. We are going to represent this writing it in program, right? So now what we want to do is, don't forget, is what? Addition, right? We want to do addition. So why we are keeping this would make sense now. We now say results. Result is also what? Another variable. So you can say results is equal to, here, we don't need to be saying 20 plus 10. No, right? What if we need 20 10 times? How are we going to be writing 20 times 20 times 20 times 20 times? Nope. But since we have num1 being the identifier for 20, just like an identifier. Okay, I need 20. I'll just call num1. I'll just say num1. Do you see it? What do I need? I don't need num1, but I need something that is inside num1, which is what? 20. I have called num1. I'll now say plus. I want to add it with 10. I have stored 10 in num2. I don't need to be calling 10 again. I'll just say what? Num. In num what? Num2. Can we see it? So which means what I'm saying basically is just the same thing as saying 20 plus 10. But this is a program. And this is the syntax. It's called what? Syntax. This is how it's been what? Written. This is what it understands. Right? So now I don't want to print this. Don't forget, this is also what? Another variable. If I want to print this, now tell me, won't it be like a confusion or a complication? Now saying that, how do I print this? Would I now be saying num1 result is equal to num1 plus? Nope. But because basically this one is keeping all this information for me already. So I don't need to be bothered about these ones again. I'll just call only this one because this one now is stored here. To print this one, I'll just say print. I'll say print what? Print what? Can anyone tell me?
Print results.
Thank you. I just say print results. Can you see? It saves me time. What if I have thousands of equations here? We'll not be saying print bracket open x minus z algebra equation square root blah 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 blah. No, I don't need it. Everything is kept here. Just a print what? Results. So and this would what? Just output the value of 20 and 10 for me on the screen, which is what? 30. And that's it. So that is the same thing we are doing here, basically. Right? So here we say what? We want to collect information or data from the user. So anything they enter here, anything they enter here, we are keeping it here inside Farinit. This is where it is coming. This is the storekeeper for the number they enter here. Okay, now, don't forget why we are pseudocoding. We also say that we also want to process anything we collect and convert it to Celsius. So now, this is the next stage of the running the process of the conversion. So we now correct it, put it in another variable, which is what? Celsius. Now the formula to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius is what? That Fahrenheit that they entered, which means anything they enter here will be represented with this one. Do you get the logic? Anything they enter here will be represented. This is just a placeholder for the number. This is not what will be calculated. This one will be changed to, let's say for instance, they now entered. If you also do the calculation now, if you do the calculation yourself, you see that, let's now say we now enter 200 here. We now said bracket open 200 minus 32 bracket closed multiplied by 5 divided by 9. So the number it now gives us, we now keep it inside this Celsius. Right? So which means everything we are calculating here is being kept here. Then the next thing is now to what? To print it out to what we can see and appreciate and what relates and resonates with. So which is what? Which is why this string formatter comes in handy. We design it, we tweak it as we want. The temperature, oh, sorry, I even said template. The temperature is what? Is, we now invoke, we are calling this guy. So after calculating this and keeping it here, the temperature is, the number we now have here is this. So this one are just literals. We call them string literals, text literals. So anything we collect, we keep it here and give us degrees Celsius. Does it make sense now?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So that is it essentially. So now we have what? We have completed our first program, right? So let's assume you have completed our first program. So now let's check our program. We now want to run the program. This is where most, or like, higher percentage of programmer like have IBP. Will this work or not? We've written it. Now let's check. So we will now run it using PI and call the what? The file, the program. So we run enter. Hey, what happened here?
Maybe you've not saved them.
We have what? An issue. Our program did not run.
Yeah.
Which is what? It is a commonplace for you as a what? As a developer. We've encountered a bug. What is happening? So now let's check. We have a syntax error. What is syntax error? Unterminated f-string literal detected at line 17. So
7.
this was done on purpose, right? So I want
Line
to use
7.
this to introduce us to the next software development stage, which is what? Which is testing and debugging our program. Don't forget, this is where we left. We created a design. We've implemented the design by writing our code. Now we want to test it. It's a common place. It's nothing to be what? Frightened of. It is something we should even embrace as developers. So we test. So when we now test, if it does not work, we review, we enter, we correct, right? So that is what's called debug. So the error we encounter are called what? Bugs. So now we should go back and fix them. So we are going to face them. So this is what we call face your fear, isn't it? So as we put it, you face your fear. So now let's go back into our code with VI into them. If you've not been using VI before, I'm using this medium to introduce it to you. You will thank me later. So now, oh, sorry. Let's review the error we had. So I want someone to analyze this error for us, please. So I want someone would analyze and give me pointer on what to correct. Anyone?
Sorry, please come again.
So we have an error, we have a bug, right? So, and we have seen in the stages of software development, it is necessary right? So it is also one of the requirements while writing program. It's expected. So now we've now identified that we have a problem. So I want someone to,
Okay.
you want to
The error,
debug.
the error is, the error
Yes.
is, sorry, it not put the, not close the quote.
How did you know I did not close the code?
From that print, it showed the line on line 7. It showed print the F code temperature is, and say unterminated F string. That means the F string is still opened.
So what am I supposed to do now?
You put at the behind the full stop, you put the quotes.
Is it where I am now?
No, again, after the full stop. After the
So
full
I
stop.
just what?
Yes.
Thank you. As simple as that. So what we just did is what? We just debugged, right? We just what? We just debugged. So we've debugged now, saying what? Okay, fine, this is the issue we are having. You know, I said it before that for every string, it must be in quotes, either single quote or double quote. Can you see how the console threw an error while we omitted it? It's like a rule. It must be what's observed. So now let's check it again. Now that we have corrected that, now let's run our program again. So I'm going to say py and run. Oh, nice. Our program ran, right? So now let's check. Is this thing going to work as expected? So the first thing we need to appreciate is, as when we are casting our design, we said we are going to design our program in the sense that it requests, it is interactive. It asks us to enter what? A Fahrenheit, a degree in what? In Fahrenheit. So now before we run the program, let us check the internet and look and have a lookup on what we are going to use as example, so that we can be sure that this thing is working as expected or otherwise. We can enter a number, it gives us another thing, which could be wrong, right? So let's do a little research and check. So as we see here before, okay, we also have one here, right? So in Fahrenheit here, they entered 212. So I entered 212 here. Can you see? It's telling us that we have what? 100 degree Celsius, which means this converted in Fahrenheit to Celsius is what? Is 100. As a Nigerian, we can understand 100. 100 is like, I don't think hellfire comes close. 100 is like when something is boiling. So that is 100. It's very extremely hot. That is 100 degree. It's 100 degree, 100 degree, 100 degree. It's like, so now let's check the same thing. So in our own state, we are also going to use the same figure, which is 200 and what? 12. So now let's enter 212. Oh, wow. What do you have here? The temperature is 100 degrees Celsius. This thing seems to be working, isn't it? So the temperature is what? Okay, you want to ask something?
Go on,
Do you
please.
have, do you have a question? Okay. So we have what? We have it in what? 100 degrees Celsius. So let's try another thing. Let's run our program again and say, this time, let's say 32. 32 is telling us that we have 0 degree Celsius. So let's double check with what we have on the internet and see if our program is correct or it's just whining us. So we are going to check here and see. Let's convert to what did I use again? 32, right?
Yes.
Oh, nice. It's also telling us the same thing. Now, I don't appreciate the fact that in my own program, after telling me what the Celsius is, I'm still seeing some decimal places, right? I want a whole number. I want a whole number. I don't want those, I don't appreciate these decimals I am seeing after it. In the first one, it's telling me 100.0. I don't want the 0.0. I just want 100. I just want 0. I just want a whole number, right? So what can we do here? It is very easy. So we can just go back to our code, enter our code, right? So in our code now, what do? You just say, we come here. Let's take note of this, please. So we come here, this is where we make that modification. So here in the string formats, so this is just the syntax. Just add this colon. Okay, my colon does not work. So you just add colon. Okay, sorry. This is the issue of VI that I'm using. If you are a non-VI user, you don't understand. So colon dot 0f. This is what I did. I said what? Colon dot 0f, which means this formats it for me in a way whereby I don't want to see any zero. I don't want to see any decimal place after my number. So just display it for me as a whole, right? So let's run our program again and check.
Sorry, I have a
Okay.
question.
Okay.
Like, I don't know, I just thought about it. Is there a way that we can put, like this Celsius now, can we put int behind the Fahrenheit?
Can we put what?
Int, like integer, like int behind, like instead of like before putting the formula, can we put int? Like
Do
this
you mean
Celsius now.
this line?
No, yes. Can we put int there?
No, you don't have to put ints.
No, I'm just asking, like, is it possible?
Make it a whole number instead of using
Yes.
format.
Instead of putting this dot 0f, I don't know. I'm just asking.
Instead of putting those 0f.
Okay, maybe, yeah. You know, I have mentioned this one before. Even if you put int, it will still be calculated in
Number.
in what is it called?
Float.
In floats. Yes, because
Okay.
because of this division. But there is one thing.
Okay.
Let me introduce this one very quickly. We have two divisions in Python in arithmetic operators. You know, we have our operators, right?
Modulo.
Yeah, that is not even modulus. Modulus is to give
Remainder.
remainder. Thank you. But we have another one. Let's say, for example, this is not part of our code, though. But if I say this, in your case now, what you're asking for, if I say this one, sorry, if I say this, okay, let me use another terminal so that we can appreciate it. So let me say, look what I'm saying. If I say 5 divided by 2, what do we have?
2.5.
If I say 5 floor division 2, what do we have?
2. Just
Do you
the
see?
whole number.
Yeah. So
Okay,
this one is called, this one is just called floor division. This one will remove, it would make it a whole number and what remove it from the from decimal. So we also have floor division, but this one is not reliable because anything can make our program to have, anything can convert our program to decimal, particularly if you are working with equation, right?
Yes.
It could also be another equation that would just throw us off and turn us to decimal. Do you understand? So that is why that's hack, you can call it a hack or a syntax, is being introduced, that if you don't want it, so what you can just do is just come and put this. Once you put this colon dot 0f, if it is only one you want only one figure, this one is just figure. After your decimal point, I don't want any figure. If you want 1, you put dot 1f. If you want 2, you put dot 2f. As the case may be, that is what this one means. You can use anything, but here I don't want anyone. I don't want it. So I just quit it and run my code again. So let's use what we are familiar with again. So let's say 212 again. So can you see now? Can you see the difference?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's removed that dot 00 blah blah blah. So I want it as a whole. So to me now, it makes sense to me like this, right? So this is it now. So let's test another thing. Okay, we've tested with 2 number. I think we are good with that. So now, if there is any
Sorry, I
question before we
wanted to
move
ask,
on, okay.
that dot F that you use. let's say, for instance, the number after the decimal isn't a zero. Let's say it's like a seven or an eight or something that you need to approximate. Does it approximate it and turn it to a whole number? You just ignore the number behind the decimal.
Yeah, it depends on what you are using. So if you are saying, what you are saying is this. If you are saying, can you think of any number that will give us a number close to approximation? So what this one will just do is, let's say for example, now we have 2.36789. Once you use it, if you say .2f, to just give you 2.56.
So that means
Do
it
you get?
doesn't approximate.
Yes.
Like
Just give
it
you
doesn't approximate.
2.56. Yes. So we are just telling it that I want just two. I
So,
want just
so
one.
if you do dot zero f, it will remove the 5 6. It just be 2.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So it's just remove everything and just give you. So please let me know if there is more question before we move on. So in absence of any further question, so we are going to move on to the next stage of our programming. So we should introduce us to another concept in programming language. So which is what? Our control statement. So in essence, the if statement. So you're going to be checking if statements now, right? So now, how do we introduce if statements into our program? So we're going to introduce if statement into our program by still going by these formats we are using. So which is what? We have how many stages? 6. So we've checked 5. Now the last one now said what? Maintain the program. Continue developing the program in response to the needs of your user. Most programs does not have like a end life cycle. That is why you would be saying WhatsApp 2 version, WhatsApp 3.0. Just for example, you'll be saying Facebook version 36, Instagram. Have you upgraded your Instagram? Have you done this? Have you done that? So these are what also a part of what software development stage, which is what to maintain a program. Program maintenance comes by what? It could be what we know as a user persona. It could be end user requests, right? It could be like a backlog that we are still going to introduce this feature, but later, right? So that is also very key and necessary in what a program's life cycle. So we are going to also do that in our program. Now, this brings us to our second problem. So which is what? Where is those our program again? So we are going to use this to also learn control flows and control statements. Where is it again? Okay, this is it. So here we have version 2. So we've done version 1. We've published our application. So anybody can use it. It is not even limited to Grace alone now. Anybody on the internet can just go to Play Store or Apple Store to download the application and use it. If they have the same challenge with what Grace experienced when she first got to the United States, they can just download the application. Anytime you just enter the number, it converts, right? Now, we now want to introduce new feature into the application. Grace also thought of another thing. I'm a programmer, so this shouldn't end here. So it's now what brings us to another problem, which is what? Now that we have our temperature conversion software application built, we feel we have achieved our mission after we tested and confirmed it's working as expected. But then you thought of updating the program to recommend type of outfit to put on based on the temperature, or we can say weather, as we fondly put it here. So now let's say if it is code, this program should be able, this is where automation comes in. What we just did also is automation, right? It automates the conversion. So you also want to do another automation or another program or another solution that would make more sense, right, to us. If it is code, it has converted from, even some people don't even understand these things in figures. If it says, even as it is reported in Celsius, some people don't still know if it is cold, hot, warm, and the likes. So this program should be able to tell us that if we have a weather report that is 0 degrees Celsius, this one is telling you that if you go outside, you turn to block, right? So in order not to turn to block, wear this kind of clothes. This weather of 56 degrees Celsius, if you're not careful, you would melt. However, in order not to melt, be prepared for it and wear this kind of clothes, right? So this is what we want to do in our program now. So now we are going to, this will now take us to another concept that we have highlighted here, which is conditional statements. Conditional statement is very, very important. We've checked operators. So operators is what we used to do our conversion. Arithmetic operators. We have 3. We have arithmetic, we have logical, and we have comparison. So we are going to use this comparison and the logical in the next program phase. So you are going to appreciate that. Now we are going to use comparison and logical in our next program phase. So we've used arithmetic. Arithmetic is addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, floor division, and modulus, right? So those are arithmetic. So now we have also used inputs. Input is the built-in function to take data from end user. So and the console output, which is print statement, to display the final design or final message to the user, right? So now we now want to check the conditional statement. So which will also introduce us to if statement. So now again, we are going to start this stage. It's like a cycle, right? So now the problem we're having now is how do we now build a program that would allow us, that would tell us what the weather is and what to wear. We know that already, right? So we also want to assume we know our specifications. So we want to also assume that we have created our designs with pseudocoded, right? We have our pseudocode. So now we want to implement this design. So now let's go back to our playhouse. So here we are going to go back. So just simply go back into your source code. We call it source code, right? So now what we are doing is we call it what? If statements. What are if statements? If statements are block of code that we use to make decision. It gives us the opportunity to check different options and execute an option that is true. We can have 4 lines of code. If it checks the first one, if it is false, it jumps to the next one. If it is also false, it jumps to the next one. If the third line is true, it executes the third line. That is simply what if statement does. So now in our case, you want to add a new feature. It's in our backlog. We want to update the version of this program to now give us, to tell us in text that we now understand that this thing is code, where this thing is hot, where this, right? That is what we want to do now. So now we introduce it to what? If, please, if there is any question in the course of this, please do not hesitate to call my attention, please. So we now say, this is the syntax, right? If what? So what do we need here? Don't forget our, this is storing our what now? Our variable, our value rather, the Celsius. We now say, if Celsius, now I want to introduce the comparison operator and the logical operator. Now we start with comparison operator. What are comparison operator? Comparison operator are simply this. One moment, let me go back to my whiteboard. Where is it again? Okay, so we can clean this out and have a new one. We don't need it, don't save. So our comparison operators are basically, we have the less than, we have greater than, we have less than or equal to, which is written like this. This means less than or equal to. We also have greater than or equal to. We have equal to, written as this, and we have not what? Not equal to. Less than, greater than, less than equal to, greater than equal to, and non-equal to. So we call them comparison operator. So as the name implies, we use them to compare and to make verdicts. If this is this, if this is greater than this, if this is less than this, right? So if this is equal to this, help us to do this. So that is what they do basically. So now let's appreciate this by trying them out on the on the terminal. So we are going to come here again and say, where is that terminal again? Yeah. So here we now want to check if Celsius. Now the first thing we need is in our designing the program, right? We need to appreciate some things. We need to know when Celsius is cold. We need to know when Celsius is warm, right? We need to know when Celsius is cool. We need to know when Celsius is hot. So can anyone check for me? Can anyone look up to determine for me when Celsius is cold? At what degree can we say Celsius is very cold? So in our case, can anyone check?
Celsius 1.
Yeah. So
1 degree.
okay. So now let's now assume that between it starts from minus 0, -1, minus all the negatives, right? So from minus and 0 to 18, let's say in our own code, we want to capture that range as being cold, right? Let's assume that is the Harmattan season here in Nigeria. So we now say if Celsius is less than, is what?
10 degrees Celsius.
You said?
If Celsius is less than 10 degrees Celsius, it's considered cold.
Thank you. So now let's say 10.
So
So
if
say
it is less than, so freezing point is 0 degrees Celsius.
you said?
If it is less than 10 degrees Celsius, it is considered cold, and it is
Okay.
considered freezing point at 0 degrees Celsius.
Okay. So which means we are going to capture that here. Now we are going to say if Celsius is less than 10. So which means
Sorry, are we considering 10 as code also?
If it is less than 10,
Okay,
what we are,
that is from negative up to 9.
thank
yes,
you.
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So which means when we get anything from that negative to 9, so we want to consider that as what? As
Cold.
code. Thank you. So we now said if Celsius is less than 10, right?
Yes.
So here I won't, there is one thing I appreciate so much in programming. It is readability, right? Writing a readable code and a neat code. So now essentially some like developer might want to write here print, If you put here print blah, the next statement, you also say print blah. The next statement, you say print. It's like making it cluttered with what? With print statements, right? So here you can say, you cannot just create a variable here, call it message. You will soon appreciate this logic now. You can call this variable message and say, so in this message, so what should the message be? We are saying it is code, right? Is that what you are saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's code. Should we use code or phrasing? Let's say code.
No,
It's
it's
code.
code.
Okay, it's code. Now, let's make this Nigerian style now. If it is code here, what is the like a fitting outfit to wear? Let's bring it home. What can we relate with here?
Get a cardigan.
Cardigan. Okay,
Yes.
so it's code wear. Are we saying wear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wear a cardigan, and let's say, and a or
And
let's say
glove.
or he said and glove, or a
And the socks.
hoodie,
And the socks.
or a hoodie, sweater, and also a what? A socks. We don't do that here
Socks.
in Nigeria.
Very brown, like this.
You can or you should also wear what again? And gloves.
And glove. People never
So,
catch one.
but all these things, I think maybe because most of us are here in, I don't know, some of us here in Southwest. If we experience Harmattan in most of
The
this northern
nuts.
place,
You wear gloves and socks.
you will wear all these things. Oh. You won't wear it. So it's cold. Wear a cardigan or a hoodie sweater, and also a what? A socks. Okay. So I think we have captured that, right?
Yeah.
Now, what if the Celsius is not less than 10? What if we have anything above 10? That is when we now come with what? The next one, which is what? Else if. Now, Python has now helped us to do like a marriage for else if and bond them together to bear what? Elif. In some languages, they still use else if, but
Yes.
Python introduced what for us? Elif. So, but it's still the same thing as what? Else if. So we now want to say Elif Celsius. Now, what is the next range you want to capture now? So I want to capture a range between something and something. So this is where we are going to introduce logical operator. The first one is comparison operator. Now logical operator, then I will explain what logical operator is. Now let's say we want to capture something between something and something. It should be, okay, it is cold before. Now let's say it is cool. Cool is different from cold. It is cool or mild. The weather is cool or mild.
Warm.
Can someone look it up? You said?
Ooh, actually,
Yeah, cool. From what degree Celsius to what degree Celsius can be considered cool? Someone should look it up, please.
27, 21, 27, so
20 what?
31, 27.
27. Okay, let's say 25.
Mhm.
Let's say 25. So which means we now want to capture between 10 and what now? 25. So this is what we called logical operator. So and this would also make me to introduce the concept of logical operator very quickly, so that we can always appreciate it when we come across them. So these are what? Comparison. So these are comparison operators. Comparison operators. So now we want to check the logical operators. Okay, so what are logical operators? They are basically three. They are what? They are three. So, and essentially they are, please, I would want you to pay attention to this logic, because many a time it confuses many a time, right? But once you get the logic and the rationale, it becomes familiar and usual. So they are what? They are three. So they are, the first one is what? And, like AND, this one, right? So the next one is what? Or. And the last one is what? Not. So these are the three logical operators: and, or, and not. But their rule guiding them, how they are being used. Now for and means, before we can use and, it means that two conditions, if two conditions are true, anywhere you want to use and in our program, it means both conditions must be what? True. We are checking two conditions. Those conditions must be met. Who is that, please? Can that person mute? Please mute. So anytime we are using and, it means both conditions must be what? Met. So for instance, now, if I say, for you to gain admission, you must
Right to I can jump
thank you. You must have your WAEC
and jump.
cleared and your what? And your JAMB cleared. Now you now want to write a program that want to check if both conditions are met. This is where you introduce and. So which means anybody submitting their results, once one of this one fails, you just see, it cancels the application. The only person that can successfully goes into the next phase is the applicant that meets the requirements of both. That is what and does. While or is one condition must be true, right? One condition must be true. If one is true and the other is false, you use or. For example, if I say, okay, you want to apply for a loan, so I now say that for you to be eligible, so you must either use,
Have a personal ID card or driver
okay,
license.
thank you. You're applying for something. So, and the condition is, it's either you use your valid national ID or your driver's license. Can you see? National ID or one of them must be true. When one of them is checked, it accepts you. So if you don't have driver license, you use what? National ID. You don't have national ID, use. So that is that. So why not? Basically, what not does is, not it's like a reverse to check something. If something is true, once you use not, it becomes false, right? It becomes false. So let's use this as an example. Let me say, okay, for anybody to be, for you to be eligible to vote, you must be what? 18. And I want to check, and I now build a program that will check if people or if voters have met that criteria. So it is in that program I will now check that not 18, not 18, right? If not 18, if I set not 18 to, if I say that, okay, if it's not 18, and I'll set it to true, I set it to false. If I set it to false, right? So it will now check while executing the program. So it will now ask not 18. So once you are what? It is true, right? Once you check, you are not 18. So it automatically changes to what? To false. and that's what makes you not eligible to vote. So it works in reverse order, right? So now we are going to use this and now. So we have okay.
So if you say work and jump, right?
Okay.
The and
Okay.
the and statement, I believe, the and command one of the two.
Your
Where
voice is not clear, Victor.
wait, can you hear me now?
Okay, yeah.
So I mean, where does bash pipeline comes in? Like, that pipeline, that's what do they call this? A bash pipeline. There is
Piping.
like piping or pipeline,
Piping.
like that. Yeah.
Pipe-
So is the piping like a symbol of and, or how is that? How is piping useful in this kind of scenario?
Piping
Yes.
in Python.
Hmm.
No,
Okay.
what, do you realize that is because of, they talk about piping at the beginning of the course. That's why he's
Okay.
asking if it should be like useful in this
If it's going to be
scenario.
useful in a scenario.
Maybe it is related here, right?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, that's what I thought he's asking.
By concepts, they are not really, because what piping does in Python, in shell, in bash shell is like it is like you want to use two commands together. So this is the concept of piping. You want to use two commands. So this is a command A, command B. So it's like a shortcut. So it will now come in between them. So it will take what you have here, keep it here, right? And use it for the next command. So that is piping. Just like a shortcut. You get. So like we want to use two commands together. So it takes the output of this, keep it, and use it
Input.
for the next command. So that is piping. Now for this one, these are like logical operators. So logical operators in the sense that we want to make decision. So these decisions, conditions must be met. So that was why we cited JAMP and WAEC. Okay, fine. I want to give a scholarship offer now. So I now said that I now want to write a program. Everybody would apply, but I have to screen. I would have thousands of applications. Even those that are not qualified, they would what? They would apply. So in that screening, I will write a program that would now check. So one of the conditions is you must have cleared or aced your WAEC and your JAM, right? That is the condition. That is where AND operator would come in. AND operator will now check in the program. So WAEC checked, JAM checked, which means this condition is what is met. So if what I now design is when this condition is met, then take this applicant's data and keep it under the database that I am keeping successful applicants. Why? Because this condition is met. Both conditions must be met. That is for what? For AND. You get. While for or at least one of the conditions must be true. Do you get? One of the conditions must be true. It could be that, as the example Ogushakin cited. So if we say you want to apply for something, I'll say that you can either use your national ID card or driver's license. All I need is one should be what? One should be true. I don't need both in this case. At least one should be true. That is when you use what? Or as a logical operator. Why the last one is not? This one is just in reverse, right? This one is in reverse. Maybe I want to capture something. I'm writing a program to check for password. So I'll now say, if if the entry is not password, right? If the entry is not password, if I set it to true, so the output will come back in reverse order to come back in false. If I set it to false, to come back as true. So you use it for something that you just need the opposite. If you need opposite for anything in your program, you use not. For instance, now, if I say that, okay, let's use a loan, for example. So now I now say that one of the criteria for this loan is you must not be a student, right? Before you can apply. You now check. If I now say not a student, I'll set it to true, right? So once someone wants to apply, are you a student? Once the person said, okay, so sorry, not a student is what? Is set to not a student, is set to, because I don't want a student. So that should be set to true or false. I don't want it. It is not for students. Should be set to true or false. This application, I don't want it for a student. So that should be set to true, right?
Yes.
So now when someone now wants to apply, right? Once you just say that are you a student? If you say yes, what would happen? To change to what? To false, which means you are not eligible. Do you get the logic? Do you get the logic? I said not, I'll say not, and this one can be very confusing. I said not students. In my program, I said not students. Let me find a clean page. So if I say that for this not operator, I don't want any students to apply. So I say not students. Right? So I'll now set is equal to true. I don't want students. Why you now want to apply? If you're a student, I will now ask you, are you a student? And then you are a student. You now said yes. And what do I want to accept here? I only want students. So by default, what would happen here? To change the data from here, from true to what? To false. So which means it would cancel your application. Do you get the logic?
Yes.
So that is what not is. Again, to recap, and checks if both conditions are true. It checks if both conditions are true, it checks. Or one of them is true, it checks. And not is what? It works in reverse. If it is true, it changes to false. If it is false, it changes to what? To true. So now in this snippets or in our program, okay, is there a question?
No.
Okay, so now here we now want to capture two conditions, right? Which means when we have Celsius between this and this, right? We have it between this and this, print this for us. You get the logic. So if you have this and this, print this for us. So you cannot say if Celsius is what? We can say, so now you can answer is greater than or equal to, we are starting from 10 now, don't forget. If Celsius is now greater than or equal to 10, can you see? And can you see? And this is where and comes in. If Celsius is greater than and equal to, equal to what? 10. And Celsius is less than or equal to, if it is greater than or equal to 10, and Celsius is less than, and Celsius is less than or equal to, So what is that range again? 10 and 25, right?
Yeah.
25.
Yes.
So what did we do here? We have captured. Do you get the idea now? So which means
Yes.
All of them.
you said?
I said yes.
Exactly. So here, both conditions must be true for this line to be what executed. If these conditions are not true, it will jump to the next one. Do you get? It jumps to the next one. But if this which means basically if it is 10, right? If it is not between 10 and 25, this line will not be executed. That is the essence of AND operator. Right? We use it to do what? To check for logic. So we can now say, so what should happen here? But this seems to be like a boring code, right? Why did I say that? Can you see it? There is somewhat a repetition in this code. We have Celsius here, we have Celsius here. How can we write this? You remember I mentioned that like writing like a shorter code is very appreciated, right? So how can we write this to make our code very short and clean, then still achieve the same thing? So now that we understand what this thing wants to do, so we can say it's the same thing as saying elif, right? We now say elif 18, right, is less than, sorry, 10 rather. Elif 10 is less than or equal to Celsius. It's still the same thing, oh. So now instead of repeating that Celsius, we now say, you just leave that Celsius as it is, or Celsius is now again less than or equal to 25. We have done basically the same thing. Now, what do we have? We have a shorter code, and it is what? It looks awesome to an extent than the first one, but they are still what? The same logic. So what you're just saying now is still the same thing. So elif 10 is less than or equal to Celsius. And also this same Celsius is still less than or equal to 25. So what should happen here? So what should happen? What is the weather condition now? You want to give it a message. Can someone look it up? What is the weather condition here? It is what? It is now what? Okay.
It is mild. Is it not mild?
Okay. So you can say it is
Or humid.
cool or mild here. Yeah. It's cool or mild. So what kind of clothes should we wear here? When something is cool or mild, what's like an appropriate outfit to put on? Can we
Light
think
out.
of anything?
Light outfit.
Light
No,
outfit.
let's think of like a native clothes that is native to us. So here we can say something like wearing maybe kaftan or wear, you can say,
Vintage.
yeah,
Vintage.
yeah, maybe just a vintage shirt. Wear a vintage shirt or a simple kaftan. Simple kaftan, right? Because the weather is not harsh, it's still cool, mild. Just wear like a long sleeve kaftan, like senator wear. It could be senator, it could be just not like an heavy cloth as such. Or you can, if it is like really cool like that, you can wear something like agbada, you get. So yeah. Now we have captured this. Now the next one we want to check is, we've known when it is cold, when it is cool. We now want to check when it is, the next one is what? A leaf. So after cold, mild, or cool, what next do you have? I think it's hot, right?
Yes, hot.
Hot, right? So in that case, that now brings us to the end of our if block, if statement block. So this will now capture other 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 conditions that are applicable, because we know if it is not cold, that it is not mild, it will be hot. So now what happens? Anything from, you don't want to say anything after 25, we want to assume anything after 25 is what is hot. So what we are saying now is else. So else will now capture every other what options. It could be 27, it could be 28, it could be 30, it could be 40, it could be 70, it could be, to just depend on the intensity of the words of the hotness, right? But we want to capture everything in a single range. So you now say else. So else, what happens from 26? So just give us a message. So the message should now be what? What should we now say?
Harsh weather condition.
It's, yeah, indeed. It's a harsh weather today, bro. It's a harsh weather. It's a harsh or hot. I say hot or hot weather. So you can just go out shirtless. Because, okay, so what kind of clothes should we recommend? Can just
Singlet.
wear, yeah?
Singlet.
Just wear a singlet. Wear a singlet. Be like that guy, I don't want to mention his name. So
Comfortable.
it's a harsh or hot weather. So just wear a what? Just wear a singlet. Right? Wear a singlet and shorts. Like it's like a beige day. Wear a singlet and yeah, you should be fine with singlet and shorts. Yeah, should be fine with singlet and shorts. Right? So this now brings us to like the end of our if statement block. So I believe we have captured every condition that's that are necessary in times of weather reports or weather forecasts. If it is not extremely cold, it will be mildly cool or harshly hot, right? So, and I think we have captured all of this in our updated version of temperature converter application. So now let's see if this is working. All we've done is we've written. So now let's test if it works, right?
Sorry,
As expected. Okay.
you did not use the print statement.
Is that?
The print statement was the print function.
Oh, sorry. Thank you so much for that observation. Can you see? So if you now run it now, it will fail. Then we come back to come and what? To come and debug.
Oh,
So what do we print?
print
Can anyone say
message.
it?
Message.
Thank you. So we print message. So this is what I was saying earlier. So instead of print, but yeah, so you just print any message that meets the condition, right? So now let's do what now? Let's run our program. Okay, we didn't get any error. So hopefully it runs successfully. So where should we start from? Let's find, I want us to capture every conditions we've stated. So we are going to check for conversion that would give us range between 0 and 10 to check. So that should be around what? So let me try 20. So this is in Fahrenheit. So let me try 200. Oh, sorry. I want something that will give us between,
We are starting from code, are we?
yeah, we want to start from code. Okay, so 40 Fahrenheit is equivalent to 4 degrees
4.4.
Celsius, right?
Yes.
So now let's try 45. So it should give us something like this. So unexpectedly, our program should tell us it is what? It's cold outside. Something like that. So we can say here 45, right? It seems to be working. The temperature is 7 degrees Celsius. It's cold. Wear a cardigan or a hoodie, sweater, and also a what? A socks.
Thanks.
Can you see?
Sorry. Can we
Okay.
try to like input like a negative number?
Okay. Let's try that too. So what number is that? Can anybody look it up? Look up for a number that will give us negative Celsius.
Negative Fahrenheit.
You said
Negative Fahrenheit.
Enter 20 now. I be enter
20.
2.
Okay, yeah, in 2 Fahrenheit, right? Yeah, awesome. That should give
Yeah.
us negative Celsius. Can you see what we have? The temperature is minus 17 degrees. Anybody that enters inside this kind of weather.
No go outside. Just stay.
This one no code though. This one would have freezing. This one is
It's
freezing.
freezing. You get. If there is another word than freezing, can you get? So in this case, when we enter 2, we have minus 70 degrees. Don't even try it.
Yes.
Minus 70 degrees, right? So, and it's also telling us it's cold. Wear a cardigan or a hoodie sweater, and also a what? A socks.
Don't go.
It's a no-go area.
Don't go. Where cardigan?
Inside the
Don't go.
So we can actually look at what Okosha can just observed now. We can even tweak our program to be that intelligent that if it is minus something, see,
It's less than 0.
just
Don't
just
go.
just stay indoor.
Stay in your
Stay,
house.
you get stay indoor. So something we can do. That could just be in the backlog. Okay. In the next update, we are going to introduce this, right? So that is also part of the like program maintenance. So now let's also check for another condition, which is what? Between 10 and 25. So can anyone look up a Fahrenheit that would give us that range between 10 and 25?
100.
100. Okay, let's try 100. No, 100 is 38.
Oh, okay. Let's
We
try.
want between 10 and 25. Let's try. If 100 gave us 30 something, it's close. So we can try 70. 70 should be within that range. Yeah, it captured it. When I entered 70, it tells us that the temperature is what? 21 degrees Celsius. So which means it's cool, or it's a cool or mild weather. Just wear a vintage shirt or a simple kaftan. You should be fine. Like just wear normal long sleeve, native, wear Ankara, like a native Ankara, a trad, right? So you should be fine in this weather, right? So a long shirt, a long sleeve shirt, and like a trouser, you are good. So which means our program is working as expected. So now let's check for the last one. So which is what? Anything now the rest from 25. So we consider it to be what? To be hot or ash. So now let's use what we have used before, which is 212, so which I believe will be converted to 100. So here we have the temperature is 100 degrees Celsius. It's a ash or hot weather. Wear a singlet and what? And a shorts. So you are good. So now we can appreciate that if this is published now, it does not only solve the problem of understanding a weather condition in Fahrenheit. It also help us to know what a figure translates into weather. That is, if it is 20, we don't need to rack our head. It's 20 hot or cold. It tells us it is cold. In addition to that, it's also like recommend a befitting outfit depending on the weather, right? So this brings us to what? To appreciating all our what? Program life cycle, right? To appreciate the program life cycle. So essentially, so in this program, you would agree with me that we've checked virtually all these concepts, right, while writing the program. So they are just like a part that makes up a whole. So while writing the program, we used data types as we knew or appreciate what they are. We also checked for variables, we checked for comments. We also understand what if statement is as we use them in our program. We check operators. We understand that we have 3 types of them, so which we used virtually all of them in our program. Use the arithmetic, use the logical, and use the comparison. Also check for the inputs, built-in function to collect data, and also the console output that displays information on the screen for us to read. So in case of our application telling us what the degree is and what to do. So the conditional statement also allows us to check for conditions. Okay, fine. If it is this, what should we do? Is it this? If it is this, do this. If it is this, do this. If it is this, do this. Right? So this makes us to like to internalize how control flows works, right? So because of time, we are supposed to check functions and also check the loops, right? So like the likes of, we have 2 basically. So the for, the while loop, and the nested loop. But we won't be looking or delving into all of those today anymore. So as time is fast spent, so we are about, that's about 3 hours in this session. So basically in our next section, right? So we would also be delving deep dive into one of the somewhat Herculean concepts to comprehend or assimilate or internalize when as for Python as a programming language, when one is what learning it. So it is what control flows and loops basically. So we are going to demystify what loops are in our next session. So hopefully we can do that tomorrow or next tomorrow. I'm going to communicate that via the channel. So we are going to start from the loops. So loop, basically what we need is just to understand the logic. Once you understand the logic, you understand the rationale. So you also understand like the flow. So once you understand these 3 concepts, the logic, rationale, and the flow, so you become to appreciate them very well. So we are going to be checking this in our next session. So basically, we've been able to also in our session to use the software development life cycle to simulate like a simple real life program. So which we have just built. So if we publish this now, so it's like it serves as like what, as a solution to individuals that might be experiencing the same issue as Grace, right? So we analyze, we determine specification, we create a design, we implement the design, we test and debug, and we also maintain the program. So, and when we tested, we appreciate the fact that everything as intended or as designed came out as we have wanted it to be. So I will give room for questions now. So if there is any question or any observation or any contribution, you can please let me know very quickly. Okay. So now, so I will stop. So is there any question? Okay, let me stop recording. Well, this recording is long. Let me stop recording.